Oh, no. Shoot. Because of this, I missed some chats yesterday. Multi-stream. Switch. I forgot to change this out. So, yeah, welcome to this evening's talk about movies, reviews, and other things in life and new changes that are happening. I want to make sure everything is functioning, everything is browsing, everything is broadcasting. Click on my viewer profile. Yep, there we go there. There we go here. Yeah, there we go. Leave it up there. So yesterday, apparently some people tried to talk to me, but for some reason, the chat didn't bring it up. Because I looked at my analytics yesterday, and it said on Twitch there was 10 chat messages, and I didn't see any one of them. So hopefully we got them up and running and working. According to this, it is working. I'm going to do one more test. Let's see if it shows up. Yeah, one more test works. All right. So now that that's working, I may have to change the layout of this because I'm looking too far over is what he did. So what we're doing today, we're going to do something different. Yesterday and the few days before, I started off with some music by Tom MacDonald. Today, we're going to do something from the Professor, Nick Harrison. He's a comedian. He's been having fun with AI covers on his Instagram channel, and now I follow him on YouTube too. Or what he does, he programs into the AI the music from a band and stuff like that, and then it kicks out what he expects to be. So what we have AI. This is called Smoother Pain. AI rock. Yacht Rock AI reimagines 9 Inch Nails Closer. So we're going to do Closer here and see how well this is how fun this is. It's just a still image, so we just got the music going. So here we go. Oops. He don't know that. I queued it up and everything was functioning, and then of course it doesn't. You let me violate you. You let me desecrate you. You let me penetrate you. You let me complicate you. Help me. I broke apart my insides. Help me. I've got no soul to sell. Help me. The only thing that works for me. Help me get away from myself. I wanna love you.
closer to God. Through every forest, above the trees, within my stomach, above my knees. I drink the honey inside your hive. You are the reason I stay alive. I wanna love you like an animal. I wanna feel you from the inside. I wanna love you like an animal. My whole existence is flawed. You get me closer to God. 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 Through every forest, above the trees, within my stomach, sleep off my knees. I drink the honey inside your hive. You are the reason I stay alive. Through every forest, above the trees, within my stomach, sleep off my knees. I drink the honey inside your hive.
Got big head.
You are the reason. You are the reason I stay alive. I stay alive.
That is actually quite awesome. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to link his video, his YouTube channel and his Instagram channel. This is let's bring it back up here again. So this is the Professor Nick Harrison. He's a comedian, wrestling. I don't know what he did in wrestling. There is a scene of him doing a wrestling, walking down the thing. He's a big wrestling fan. He loves, I highly recommend it. He's funny. He does some things. Him and I guess, are about the same age, and so we have the same likes and dislikes in certain things. He does on his YouTube channel, on his Instagram and YouTube. Apparently, he does a lot of his. You cannot. It's like a try not to sing challenge, and they'll play like 10 songs, and he'll try not to react and sing to it. Or try not to dance challenge and stuff like that. All right, so now we passed that, and we got some happy and jump to the beat in ourselves. I did get some news that I can't procrastinate on. Well, I'm working my hardest to do it. I waited until the very last minute to finally accept and approve, and like last minute, like this afternoon. So I've been, as mentioned before, I've been unemployed for 6 months. And my nose is starting to twitch again because I'm talking. Of course it is. Anyway, yeah. So I've been unemployed for about 6 months, and I finally got a couple interviews. One from two. I had 3 interviews last week. One from a company that I submitted my resume for back in early September. I mean, like the first week in September. And then I did an interview for a company on Monday prior to that one. So I interviewed on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. And I was waiting for the Monday interview. They said, we'll let you know in 2-3 days. I'm now guessing there's absolutely nothing. They're not going to accept it because they even took down the job notifications from the website. And so then the second company I interviewed was for a contract position in a different city entirely, or different county. It's like I live north in Washington, and the job is south in Washington. I don't live up north. I'm more central north, and they immediately called me back, said that they're not going to take me for the contract role, but they're going to take me for the full time position. So I'm being hired directly for the company at a less pay that I was originally negotiated at, and which is slightly more than what I was previously getting paid before I became unemployed. Um, Actually, it was about the same amount, and I negotiated further, got additional increase to it plus relocation compensation, and then on Thursday I get an interview for a job that pays a whole lot more than all the other two jobs, and they would say that they would let me know on Monday at the last, because this job was a short time job. It was only supposed to be between the end of this month and February because they were waiting for the notification on their funding, and they I said fine, but please, if you're going to do it, let me know by Monday because I got to determine, I got to say yes or no with the people that I'm going to go and get the job with, and they finally come back on Monday here, and I filled out the paperwork for the other job, and everything should be finalized tomorrow, and my first day would be Wednesday. I gotta drive, 2 hours to the job on Monday or Wednesday. I'm gonna be staying the night down there. I got a friend who's gonna allow me to crash on their extra bed for whatever how many nights I'm gonna be staying down there, which would be probably just Wednesday and Thursday night at the longest, or just Wednesday night, Thursday, and drive back up here and work from home on Friday. That's the plan. They're actually allowing me to work a month, 4 days in the office, 1 day at home, and then after that it has to be every day in the office, and I'm perfectly fine with that because so now what's going to happen is I am going to be moving to Vancouver, Washington from Tacoma, Washington. And how's that going to affect my streaming? Well, I'm going to be streaming on the laptop, either one that, on a laptop device that I have, which has an OK camera and everything. I won't be able to have all the functionalities that I have now. But so that is the plan at the moment. Um, it it can be it can work out, and I can stream from it. I just don't know what the connection like is down at my friend's place. What if it's going to be just Wi-Fi, or am I actually going to have a LAN connection like I have here, which makes it easy for streaming over 3 platforms? It's just Wi-Fi. Then what happened? I may just stream over YouTube and Twitch, and not stream on X for a few days. Essentially, when I have the good stream signals, it would be because I'm here at home. And so I'll be moving out of this place on the 16th. The 16th will be final days. So about the 14th and 15th of November, I'll be taking down my whole display, my whole computer, and everything, packing it all up, and getting ready for the movers to come pick it up and then take it out to the new location. In the meantime, I'm going to be packing up my place starting tomorrow, and which shouldn't be too much of an issue because I didn't unpack it from the first time. Just additional clutter stuff I got to get rid of. You always got to downsize when you leave. Unfortunately, I'm a pack rat, so I don't downsize. I actually got more stuff than when I first moved in here. But that's besides the point. So yeah, that's the plan for the next 4 weeks is me packing up everything, or 30 days packing up everything, get ready to move down to Vancouver. Which means I may stream on the 16th, or I might be streaming on the 17th. Depends how fast I can get, how well I can get things going, and if I get the cable set up on time, transferred down to there. So all I have to do is grab the box and pack it up and bring it down there. I got to find out what the cable companies are down there. I also got to find a place to live. I don't have any place at the moment. I found a house that I'm interested in to rent. It's a really good price. I don't know if it's still on the market. I can't search for it now, but it's going to be fun. which means, you know what? No procrastination. I can't put it off anymore. Um, yeah, I'm really good at it. I'm really good at procrastination. It's, someone once said procrastination is just another form of um, motivation. And I'm like, no, 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 no. That's two different things because you can motivate yourself to do anything. I motivate myself to procrastinate, so I've learned to procrastinate very well. Um, yeah, so that's my joy in life. That the big announcement I have is that I'm going to be moving. Um, can Buffalo make the field goal? They've been missing field goals like crazy this game, same as Jets. It's been a back and forth game between Jets and. Yep, he did it. So the Buffalo takes the lead, 23-20. All right. Now you got the sports update. So for the movie today, we're going to do two things. One, we're going to movie review the movie I picked for the Halloween. So what I picked for the Halloween episode is Devour. I was watching this. I'm like, I've seen this movie before, and I can't remember why I didn't see it. Um, it for some reason it couldn't get it in my head what it was, and so what it was is I saw this movie. What, you know how I know I saw this movie? Because I own the DVD. I bought the DVD for a cheap price at the Dollar Tree. So this is Devour. It stars Jensen Ackles, Shannon Sosama, and Dominic Swain. Now this I think was, I can't remember if this was during or after. It was either before or during when Jensen Ackles was filming um, how would I rate Devour? I would give it a 6 stars. Yeah, no, I don't want to sign in. So Jensen, so yeah, let's see here. I'm currently halfway through the film. Like I said, I've already seen the movie before, so let's see. Devour. Supernatural was in 2005 to 2020. Devour was in 2005. So that means either before he filmed his first episode of Supernatural, he did Devour. You know, he filmed Devour. And he also filmed, you know, shortly later while filming, you know, he's been doing a lot of horror stuff and supernatural stuff ever since he did Supernatural. Um, my earliest viewing of him or watching him was, let's see, do they have it here? No, they don't have it. Why don't they have it? Dark Angel. There it is. Yeah, he was in Sybil. I never watched Sweet Valley High. He was in Sybil. Didn't watch it. Dark Angel was a series that got me when I saw Jason Eccles for the first time. And then of course, you know, okay. Batman on the Red Hood. Yeah. So then he did, you know, he did Supernatural, and of course his career sort of just shot up like crazy after that. But because he's stuck in a role, you can see he's done these things off and on over the time. Let's see, what has he got coming up? He has another season of The Boys coming up, which is released in 2026. So he's missing 2024 and 2025. Oh no, he did 2020. Was he? Let's see. Yeah, he was only in season 3 of The Boys. He's not in season 4 at all. So it looks like he may be in season 5 of The Boys. I like The Boys. I like the comic book. The comic book I like more than anything else. It was actually really good. All right, now that's out of the way. The Devour is an interesting suspense thriller or sci-fi, not sci-fi, but be classified definitely as a horror. Supernatural, I guess, would be the best way to do it. It's a supernatural horror where You go to a website, you enter in your information, your date of birth, your where you're from. You don't have to do your social security number, but and once we enter it in, you start getting phone calls from the path, and the path tells you to do things. If you don't do things, there's consequences for it. If I remember right, I haven't got to the point where he hasn't done anything for the path yet. He's done everything the path has requested him to do. And the problem is that Jake, like someone like me, or I think his name's Jake in this one. Like me, has dark thoughts, and so the path is playing mystically on his thoughts. And that kind of reminded me of a movie that was really good in that sense, where it played on your dark thoughts, your dark mind. And so I found on Good Bad Flicks the Exploring Event Horizon. So the Exploring, so they have several things. They just released a new video on Good Bad Flicks, and let's see, what was the thing that they released? Give me a second. I know I'm a horrible person. So they just released the 5 Overlooked Films, episode 22, 5 horror films from 5 different countries. So I'm going to go over that myself and watch it a little later. But the Exploring series, as if you noticed before, is sort of like an in-depth look of it, like what led up to the show, what led up to the director, the writer, the actors, and stuff like that, what they went through, if there was deleted scenes, why they cut the scenes out, the writer, how the writing and the development of the movie came about. So we're going to be exploring Event Horizon by Good Bad Flicks. All links will be in the description after the stream.
What happens when you take a haunted house movie, add a mixture of The Shining and the Amityville Horror, then make the whole thing take place in space? You'd have the initial concept for what would go on to become the 1997 sci-fi horror movie, Event Horizon. In 1994, up-and-coming English director Paul Anderson had gained a good deal of recognition for his first film, Shopping. Anderson was a huge video game fanatic, which led to him taking on the job of directing the 1995 action film, Mortal Kombat. With a $20 million budget, the film went on to gross over $122 million worldwide. Since Mortal Kombat was such
Pause. How did it gross $122 million worldwide when it wasn't that great of a film in the first place? I never quite understood that. Granted, I like some of the fight scenes, I like some of the effects that they used at the time, but there's some of the actors I just didn't understand why they picked them for the role. Some of the overtap stuff, but it made money. Again, the rule of Hollywood is you take the budget. If the budget had $22 million, you then take the budget, multiply it by 2, so it makes $44 million, and that was the actual cost of the movie. Because, additional $22 million goes into marketing and stuff like that. Then, anything above that $44 million mark, the movie made profit. So in this case, the movie made approximately, $78 million. So it made the production company money.
$1 million worldwide. Since Mortal Kombat was such a hit, Anderson was given all sorts of offers to direct, the biggest of which was to direct the upcoming X-Men movie. He declined all the offers because they were PG-13 films, and he was looking to do something very hard R. He joined with Paramount, and since Mortal Kombat was such a hit, they gave him full control over the movie he wanted to make, and how he wanted to make it. At the time, Anderson had been watching a lot of older classic horror films, like The Haunting and The Shining, so he decided he wanted to work on an unconventional ghost story film. He went looking through the scripts and stumbled upon one called The Stars, My Destination. After reading it, he decided that this was the movie he wanted to make. They took the script and gave it a major rewrite. While the screenplay did retain the whole Shining in Space theme, originally the story had the ship possessed by an alien consciousness, as opposed to it being a gateway to hell. They dropped anything that had to do with aliens to avoid the obvious comparisons between it and the Ridley Scott classic. They changed the name of the film to the much more fitting Event Horizon. The film was about a rescue team sent to investigate a ghost ship that used a new warp drive that seemed to open up a portal to hell. He got together with his frequent working partner, producer Jeremy Bolt, and they set off to make this uniquely horrifying production. Even though Paramount gave them the go-ahead to make the film, it still wasn't officially greenlit. They had the film storyboarded and the principal photography date was set, but they were still waiting on the studio. It wasn't until 10 weeks before shooting was to begin that Paramount greenlit the film with a $60 million budget. For a film this size, a 10-week pre-production schedule is incredibly short. This meant they had to hire everyone, get all the sets built, and the...
1 second. A $16 million budget for this film. This film was phenomenal. It was also one of the earlier CGI stuff that was put into horror films. So, yeah, they kind of really rushed this, and they did I'll be honest, they did a great job on this movie.
Everyone, get all the sets built, and the entire crew in place in just a little over 2 months. Because of the shortened schedule, they had a hard time finding anyone who would do the construction they needed. They managed to get Joseph Bennett and his team to build the sets, for a larger price tag of course. For the main cast, they only needed a small but talented group of actors. They cast Lawrence Fishburne as Captain Miller, Sam Neill as Dr. Weir, Kathleen Quinlan as Peters, Jolie Richardson as Lieutenant Stark, Richard T. Jones as Cooper, Jack Noseworthy as Justin, Jason Isaacs as DJ, and Sean Pertwee as Smith. The entire film, with the exception of one scene, was filmed within the sets built on Pinewood Studios. Anderson wanted the film to have some running religious themes, so he based the design of the Event Horizon on the Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris, France. They took tons of photos, scanned them into the computer, and made changes as they saw fit. They loved the long main aisle, so they kept that as the ship's main hallway. The two towers they folded over to make wings, and the altar was where they placed the core. On the sides, the airlocks were positioned where there would be stained glass windows and were labeled like the Stations of the Cross. Also, now with the towers folded out, the ship took on the shape of a crucifix. The ship had very Gothic architecture with things like flying buttresses. The medical bay had steel pillars mimicking stone pillars. To add an extra level of weirdness to the design, some of the halls were shaped like coffins. The Event Horizon itself was inspired by the ghost ship the Flying Dutchman. They wanted to do as much of the film as possible with practical effects, so they went to great lengths to do so. The main hallway was actually 30 feet long that they placed a mirror at the other end to make it look even longer. The ships and the space station were all scale models. The Event Horizon model alone was 70 feet long. Justin's veins popping out was done by putting tubes under fake skin and blowing them up with compressed air. With the opening shot of Weir in the space station, they filmed Neil on the set. They shot the outside portion with a model and a camera that pulled back on a 60-foot long track. They then composited the two and added the Earth in the background. The original script had most of the movie taking place in zero gravity. Since the wire work to simulate zero-G was complicated and time-consuming, they created the concept of the gravity boots to help cut down on the time they needed to film in the wire harnesses. They still had to do a fair amount of wire work, so they built a gym inside the studio for the cast to exercise to keep their strength up. The core was inspired by the Lament configuration from Hellraiser, which also opened a portal to a pain or hell dimension. The clouds outside...
Alright, pause it for a second. Yeah, nowadays they would do the zero gravity. If they were going to do zero gravity, they would use the gravity planes that they use in Apollo 13, and they use in a lot of other films recently when they do a lot of zero gravity stuff. So they take the plane, go all the way up at apex height, and then they drop. And so when it drops, it has you get a weightlessness that occurs, but the drop is only like 15 or 20 seconds. It's not a whole lot of time. And so they try to shoot a lot of scenes within that 15-second window. And so that's what would have happened. And then, of course, a lot of the CGI stuff, like if they're strapped down, they don't need it to have things floating around. They just have a CGI pin that's grab and then grafted to a real pin. So that was the thing here. So let's back this up.
Portal to a pain or hell dimension. The clouds outside the ship were meant to emulate the fog you'd normally see in a haunted house movie. The scene with the frozen corpse smashing into the ground had to be shot twice. The first time they did it, they discovered a disgruntled effects worker hid a Barbie doll inside. So when it smashed into the ground, the doll shot out, which ruined the shot. Inside the core room, the walls looked metal, but were actually painted rubber. The stasis tanks were cockpits from fighter jets that the art department modified. The blood in the light was actually just red tracing paper that they pulled with a fishing line. For the final sequence, Neil had to wear a full prosthetic bodysuit. For those days, he arrived on set at 3 a.m. for the 7 to 8 hours it took to apply. Towards the end was some more religious imagery, with Isaacs being flayed open and hung like he was crucified. The windows behind him were shaped like the ones from the cathedral. The cast did not like shooting the hell scenes because it felt like they were being douched with fake blood. About halfway through filming, the studio asked if the movie could be PG-13. Anderson declined, saying at this stage it would be impossible. They originally had a different opening for the film, with the crew, the Lewis and Clark, going on a zero-G mission. They had it storyboarded and everything, but it was too expensive to shoot. Anderson liked the part where a person gets shot out of the airlock, so they reworked that back into the script, with Justin being launched and Miller rescuing him. The entrance for the core looked amazing, but was a problem for the crew. The rotating cylinder was disorienting to your equilibrium, and caused most everyone to fall down. It was hard for Lawrence Fishburne, who had to run through it a few times. Speaking of which, the scene where he's being chased by a fireball was a mixture of shots. First was him running down the corridor with a light following him. Then they used a flamethrower to shoot a massive fireball down the hallway. They composited them together for an impressive scene. At one point, the crew deciphers a video from the original team. This scene was called The Blood Orgy. Essentially, the crew was stuck in a hell dimension, and they were fucking and mutilating each other to death. Later, the crew of the Lewis and Clark started having visions of themselves in hell, complete with bodies flayed open and maggot-filled wounds. Andrew Kevin Walker, the writer of Seven, was brought in to do a rewrite of some of the hell segments, to make them more vile. The legs of the Burning Man was a complicated animatronic that repeatedly had to be set on fire. While the film did most of its effects practical, there still was over 400 computer effects, everything from minor ones like wire removal, to major ones like the items floating in zero-G. The clouds around the model ships were all CGI. As a goof, the book floating on the ship is Anderson's autobiography. Anderson never liked the poster the studio chose. He thought the shot of Justin entering the core would have been much better. After a 90-day shoot, principal photography ended. However, Anderson needed some additional time for second unit shots. Paramount had already committed to a release date, and they pressured Anderson to shorten the time he had to work on his director's cut. The Directors Guild of America guarantees you 10 weeks to make your director's cut, but you can choose to waive that right if you want. Anderson was relatively new in Hollywood, and regrettably shortened his time to edit the director's cut to 6 weeks. He was still shooting second unit stuff for an additional 2 weeks, and in the end, he only had 4 weeks to assemble his director's cut. The first cut of the film ran 130 minutes. When the studio saw it, they hated it, but they wanted to put it in front of a test audience. Anderson tried to explain this was a horrible idea. Many of the effects weren't done, and the audio wasn't mixed. The studio insisted, and it came as no surprise that the test audience hated the film. They thought it was too long, too gory, and proceeded to complain about all the technical problems, which were still being worked on. The studio went into full panic mode, insisting that they remove everything that the audience disliked in order to get the movie out. Anderson was given a week to make a new cut. He had freedom before, but now he had Paramount breathing down his neck. They demanded it be shorter and to get rid of most of the violence. They even tried again to get it to be PG-13. The second screening wasn't much better than the first, with the audience still disliking the film. He was given some more time to edit, but this time he added some of the gore back in and balanced the pacing more. This time the audience seemed to like it, so Paramount gave the okay. Anderson asked for more time to fix the film, but the studio refused and released this cut of the movie, which was well over 30 minutes shorter. The film was released on August 15th, 1997, a mere 10 months after principal photography started, which is unheard of for an effects-heavy film. Most movies would still be fine-tuning around this time. The film came and went, opening in 4th place and only making $26 million domestically. At the time, it just didn't resonate with audiences. Home video was a different story, and the film became a cult hit. Lawrence Fishburne and Sam Neill both spoke highly of the film, not only as something they enjoyed working on, but a movie where they were very proud of their performances. Years after its release, Anderson wanted to get the cut footage and take the time to assemble a proper director's cut. so he and Jeremy Bolt went looking for the lost footage. When the film was released in '97, DVDs were relatively new, so most studios weren't keeping cut footage around for a possible different cut down the line. Anderson searched all over the globe and finally tracked the remaining footage in a salt mine in Transylvania, of all places.
Salt mine.
Most of the footage was damaged, making a director's cut impossible. They took the footage they could salvage and put it on the DVD as deleted scenes. The elongated hell scenes were intense, and now watching them you could see a bit more of what was going on. Eviscerated bodies, maggot-filled corpses, and one of the crew being sodomized with a lead pipe. Not saying that all this should have gone in. A large part of effective horror is knowing what to show and what not to show.
Yeah.
I think if they had the hell footage for a few extra seconds here and there, it would definitely ramp up the uncomfortable factor. The movie was full of homages. There's the wave of blood as an homage to The Shining. The walls dripping blood was an homage to the Amityville Horror. Weir's window opening used the same sound as a door opening in Doom. There's supposed to be an X-Wing somewhere in the antenna array, but I scoured the footage and could not find it. There was an homage to the crab walk from The Exorcist, of Dr. Weir coming down the ladder, but that was one of the things that got cut from the film. Some of the other stuff that was cut was a scene when Peter sees her son with open sores on his legs. In the extended cut, she looks away, and now the sores are bigger and covered in maggots. There was a crew member who had a stake driven through the back of his head, which knocked a tooth out. When they first arrived on the ship, Lawrence Fishburne finds the tooth floating in the hall. Weir's wife's suicide was much more graphic. It's not mentioned, but the Hell Dimension seems to have influenced the Chaos Space Marines of Warhammer 40k.
Nice.
The Marines live inside a warp and look mangled and twisted, kind of like the victims of the Event Horizon. The buildings and ships also share a similarly distorted Gothic architecture. The earliest mention of the Chaos Space Marines I could find was in the Chaos Codex. So if there's someone more knowledgeable with Warhammer lore, feel free to let me know if I'm wrong and this was the other way around. Who cares? Necrons are better anyway. The movie also heavily influenced one of the scariest game series of all time, Dead Space. In 2012, they announced a VHS copy of the original cut had surfaced. Some shots leaked, but unfortunately the quality of the film overall was not fit for release. Even after all it went through, I still love this movie. I have a feeling that if they ever can release a director's cut, it will be the definitive version. But as it stands now, it's a great movie that's scary as hell.
Yes.
The cast is superb, the practical effects still look good, and overall it has an ominous presence, much like the ship itself. Even in its somewhat edited form, it still ranks up there with some of the best and scariest horror movies of all time.
Yeah. All right. Here we go. One more thing.
We're leaving.
Yep. No commercials. All right, yeah. So the Event Horizon is a gruesome movie. I watched it several times. I think I own the Event Horizon, or was about to own it on my Vudu. I know I own it on DVD. I think. Let me see here. Doctor Sleep, Dune, everything. No, I do not have Event Horizon. So yeah, it was one of the movies I was looking to buy digitally, because I know that I do have it on DVD, but I don't have the digital copy of it. Let's see. E for Event Horizon. Evil Dead. Event Horizon. Yep, I own Event Horizon. 96 minutes. Definitely, if you want a nice scary movie, watch Event Horizon. You don't want it to I keep looking over here, but the camera's not over there. The camera's over here. I'm just looking over here for the chat and everything. So not used to it so much. I'm used to just playing a video game and barely looking up on it so often. So yeah, the Event Horizon, great movie. It takes place in 2047, so we have 23 years until this occurs. I like watching the movies that have that have the event, like with the Back to the Future days that happened. There was a big, huge event for that. So I've got tons of horror movies I watched and own. Um, Bruce Campbell is one of my favorite character actors. He definitely does over the top stuff and everything, but the problem with him is I ain't gonna say that. I'm not gonna say. Okay, I'm not gonna do that again. There's one rule I have that I'm going to be trying to stick to the best I can. I mean, it's going to be hard to do, and if anybody wants to ask me questions, they can about an actor, whether I met them or worked for them, or seen them in real life, or um, done it, any questions I may have be able to answer about them. The one thing I won't do is I won't say anything bad about them publicly. That is a good rule by these standards, where the individuals need their privacy. Some people have issues that they have to deal with, and some people have their own personal demons and all that. So I'm not going to talk about those type of issues about the individuals. I'll talk about the good things they have, the interactions they have with fans, the interactions I've had with them, at conventions and everything. But I'm not going to speak ill of them. Even if they pass away, I'm not going to speak ill of them. But what I am going to do coming up is whenever I have a situation where a person passes away, I'm going to find if Good Bad Flicks has done any reviews on their stuff, and then go over it and play it, and we'll do go over that situation. It's better than me watching a film and then recording it and then pacing it out. I know reaction videos are good in that sense. I haven't reacted to any movies. I'm more reacted to the songs than anything else. It's the reason why it's hard to react to movies is like, okay, if I set up a Patreon account and everybody, and you ask me the question of what, hey, can you react to this film? I'm like going, I've already seen that film, so my reaction is just going to be a delayed, whatever. So I can react if you had questions about films that I've seen, or that you want to know my review or opinion on that. I give you those. Um, as my letterbox D shows, it says I've seen 80 films this year, but I haven't really seen 80 films this year. I just been going over like, oh, I've done this, and it's actually said I've seen over 200 films. I'm like, yeah, in my lifetime I've seen over 200 films. You know, let alone in 1 month. Uh, but not in 1 month. I went through my great nephews introduced me to Letterboxd, and so I've been adding going through and adding the movies I've seen, giving reviews, adding my own little ratings to it. There's some movies I've seen that I gave a rating of 4, and the average rating was about like 2.5. So at least I have a slightly better opinion, well, my own personal opinion of what those movies were like and everything. In my view, I've seen movies that I just that I know people didn't really enjoy at all. So here's an example of it. Let's see here. I'm looking through my DVD, uh, uh, is it? Oh yeah, there we go. Actually, that might be a better one for it. Or actually, let's do 1941. All right, so here we go. This is a good one. So this is the movie that came out in 1979. Rotten Tomatoes score for it is 39% splat, 48% audience. Now the audience review for this movie is kind of horrible in that sense. I loved this movie. I thought this movie was great. Yeah, so the tomato meter is 39%, the popcorn meter is 48%. So the reviewers are just, pretty much killed this film. So this film is a Steven Spielberg directed film starring John Belushi, Dan Aykroyd, Lorraine Gary, Ned Beatty, Treat Williams, Nancy Allen, Robert Stack, Tom Matheson, Christopher Lee, Toshi Mufon. I'm going to butcher his name. Warren Oates, Eddie Deason. If you don't know who Eddie Deason's done tons of films. John Candy, John Millis, Bob Gale. Also, those are the writers and executive producers. So yeah, the cast is a stellar cast. You have Steven Spielberg as a director. This is a comedy made in 1941, or at least that's the era that it's supposed to be portrayed in. But the reviewers gave it, what would be classified as maybe a 2.5 or 3.5 out of 5 stars, and for the popcorn meter, for the public, for the critics, it would be like a 2.1 or 2 or 2.5. They just really slammed this movie down. But the comedy aspect of it is taking place there in 1941, just after the bombing of Pearl Harbor. December 7th happened. This takes place just before New Year's in 1941. And this is a great movie. It is funny. It is exhilarating. It has good pacing, over the top characters and humor and all that. And it's one of the top, easy top 200, top 100 films of all time that must be seen. For anybody who wants to be a writer or wants to be a director, you got to watch this film. There's so much going on in it that is, how do you control this kind of chaos? And Spielberg did a great job in doing it. So I recommend it. It's a very, very good movie. And of course, like I said, the rating overall in Rotten Tomatoes shows it as a not good movie. Is not kind of worth watching. And again, it's also one of those movies that could never be made today because of the humor in it, some of the dialogue in it. They go into the Zoot Suit riots in it a little bit. You can never make this movie today. It's just one of those things that because of the, it's going to offend me. I can't watch this film. Crew or individuals. So yeah, stuff like that. All right, so we're gonna leave tonight's on. I'm not gonna do it as long as I did yesterday. We're gonna do a Tom McDonald spoken word called. I think I played the word once already. But it's like yesterday I did a spoken word alone when I started the show. We're gonna end it with anxiety. Yeah, it's one of those. It's one of those things that speak to me. It's just one of those ideas that how people are in this world and how to deal with things. And so in this case, this is Anxiety by Tom McDonald.
I wake up feeling panicked. My pills are in the cabinet. It takes all the strength I have to just ignore them as I pass it. Man, I hope this feeling passes soon, but hell and back, it's barely noon. I'm scared to go outside. Shit, I'm surprised I even left my room. And it feels like no one understands how bad I'd love to join my friends. It's hard to breathe, I'm anxious, and I'll end up staying home instead. The doctor hasn't helped me much. He signs his name, I buy the drugs. I'm feeling weird, I take one out, it makes me feel comfortably numb. Man, I can't handle my emotions like I used to, it's all different now. I start to sweat, I feel confused, my fingers shake, my heartbeat pounds. And I'm feeling claustrophobic every time the closet closes because my skeletons are in there, so I have to leave it open. I'm just nervous over nothing, even shit I can't control. I used to love to be in public, now I'd rather be alone. And even though it's difficult, it's probably for the best. If I didn't make a change, I would have drank myself to death. Then I wake up feeling better than I did the day before. But then it hits me out of nowhere and almost knocks me to the floor. A heaviness, a readiness to get back into bed, a sadness that I can't explain, a cloud over my head. My deepest, darkest fears feel like they're filling up an ocean, and I'm floating on the surface with no hope to keep me going. I've been down on myself. Man, I forgot how to believe in me. I never asked for help, now I just struggle with it secretly. I wish that it was something I could sweep under the carpet. Trying to hide it all the time only makes the battle harder. Man, I lived a lot of moments that I probably should have cherished. Now they seem so far away from me. I'm angry and embarrassed. I can't even tell my parents. They don't need to keep on worrying. My mama and my papa don't deserve to have to bury me. I hope the pills I have will hold me over for a while. I'll keep searching for the strength to find my smile.
All right. I just forgot that tomorrow I'm probably going to do an earlier stream because I got to go to bed early and wake up. And I am going to be traveling at like 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning to Vancouver on Wednesday morning. So, yeah, so early stream tomorrow. Early-ish, probably more about 7 o'clock and 6:30, 7 o'clock around there. Pacific Standard Time. So I say this, everybody, be nice, be kind, be well, and always look for that sunshine.